Hi, friends. This is Wendy Harrop, and welcome to the Say Yes to Yourself podcast. On the Say Yes to Yourself podcast, you'll hear stories from women just like us who are adding the practice of saying yes in their daily lives in big and small ways, and as a result, are experiencing the truth that everybody wins when you say yes to yourself. Saying yes to yourself is a graceful unfolding, an intentional becoming of the very best version of you. It is my hope that in these conversations, we are able to find our truth and be inspired and empowered to live our very best lives. I'm so excited to go on this journey with you, and I look forward to finding a bit of our own story in each other's. Hello, my beautiful friend. Welcome back to the podcast. Happy Friday. It's such a good one. I have the absolute joy of having a fabulous farm stay guest this weekend. She is the woman who makes all of this goodness possible, at least the part that interacts with you, and that is my fabulous podcast editor, Shannon Warner. She is here for the weekend. We are going to a wonderful podcasting, networking event this weekend put on by Book Thinkers, who is probably the second most cooperative component in this beautiful love fest that is the Say Yes to Yourself podcast. That is the firm that has introduced us to so many of our fabulous guests. So it is a great weekend here at the Phineas Wright House. We are celebrating all things Say Yes to Yourself, and we are celebrating you. We are also celebrating today's fabulous guest, Vicki Gold. She is a physical therapist with over 50 years of experience and the founder of Thera Fitness. She's authored her new book. She is now 80 years young and living an active life. She is an expert in helping people optimize their physical and even mental abilities with her ABC mind-body system. In Aging Safely, Wisely, and Well, her new book, she has culled her most valuable moves, body mechanics, and mindset tips, as well as contributions from other professionals on topics like maintaining balance and preventing falls, preventing osteoporosis, making nutrition a priority, and more to help seniors transform the way they move through life. I'm so delighted to have Vicki with us. We are all aging, and she is doing it so graciously and gracefully. I'm excited to share her secrets and tips with you. So please enjoy this very fun conversation with Vicki Gold. Vicki, I am so looking forward to this conversation. You have some secrets that I want to know, and I am so here for it.
And I'm so not shy about sharing whatever. And I, of course, had a chance to look at your background a little bit, Wendy, and the people and the women, I should say, that you primarily, or that we're primarily speaking to. And, I'm going to repeat here what I said to you, and that is, I don't know if I'm appropriate for this podcast because it says on your website that it's for women, in midlife. And I'm thinking, well, I turned 80 last September. I'm not sure I'm going to make it to 160, but we'll keep talking.
Let's talk because, like I said to you earlier, I want to make sure that I 80 the way you're 80. So, oh my goodness.
I never thought of expressing it that way. And just to kind of help us along again from your website, I love the idea of you suggesting that women learn to put themselves first.
Yes, it goes against our conditioning. And there's this interesting, I don't know, divine math that happens that when we do say yes to ourselves, everybody else wins. when I started implementing these practices for myself about 5 years ago, one of those practices is a morning routine. And so I get up at 4:45 every day and I make a fabulous cup of coffee and I meditate and journal and read and pray, and I do that for a couple of hours, and then it's time to wake up my daughter for school. She's 11, and I feel like I have 2 days every day because
Yeah.
I give myself that practice. I also go to bed at 8:15 at night. So
Oh my goodness.
because I'm so committed to this practice because I've seen the results of the practice. It doesn't seem early, and it doesn't
Right.
seem early to go to bed because I'm also tired at that time. So
Yeah.
I'm listening to my body and that rhythm is working, but it's also making me 1,000 times better mom than I was
Right.
prior to having this routine. So, me putting myself first and carving out this time. And yes, I do it at a time that nobody else knows about it, which is,
And it doesn't, yeah, and it doesn't interfere with whatever their particular activities. And so what I hear is that you're talking about self-care.
yeah,
So may I introduce the idea of my book, which is one of the reasons I'm here with you today?
please do.
Okay. So my book is called Aging Safely, Wisely, and Well. It's a guide. It's what do I call it? A movement and mindset guide for older adults. But the reality is that it's not just for older adults. And of course, my background is as a physical therapist. I'm retired now. I was in the field more than 50 years. And
Wow.
just a little background, I also did have experience with yoga and Tai Chi and Alexander and Feldenkrais techniques. And for anybody who's heard of Landmark Worldwide, I've done a lot of personal growth and development. And what the book does is takes a lot of this experience that I've got from my traditional medical training and then these mind body approaches to physical and mental well being. That's what's been put in the book. And I dare to say that if I look, if I function, if I whatever well at age 80, it's because of these things.
That's amazing. And I'm so grateful for your generosity in writing the book because so often we hear about some wonderful way of being. And the first thought is, oh my gosh, I wish I would have known this 10 years ago. So I'm so happy that this is an opportunity for me to know it 10 years ago by having this conversation today.
Yay.
It's so good. Yeah.
Yeah,
So I love that you've been able to obviously take your experience and then share it even with a wider audience than your 50 years of practice gave you.
right. Right. And the other thing that I've always been interested in doing, I guess, once I had achieved my professional status as a physical therapist, the next thing that just came naturally was the desire to teach. And that teaching was not just in the context of other physical therapy, or later I became the director of a physical therapist assistant program, but also to speak to everybody, every adult. And, I spoke to senior citizen centers, I spoke to retired teachers. I'll speak to anybody who will give me a moment of their ear. And in terms of this loving to teach, I found that where I like to concentrate is giving people a foundation that they can build on.
Sure.
So, yeah. So you'll see in the book there are two ABC systems, and I state that if if we all learn these ABCs, they will be transformative.
Oh, fantastic.
That's an outrageous statement, right?
Oh, I'm all about the outrageous statements, Queen. You are in the right room.
Oh,
Are
good.
you willing to share the ABCs?
Well, since you asked, first of all, just going back to this word transformation, I used to be very hesitant to say it. And then I got to a point of really embracing the idea that we could transform how we move, even how we think, how we function. And the tagline of my company, and my company is Thera Fitness Inc., but it became transforming the ways you move through life.
Hmm.
Now, the ABCs. The first set of ABCs that I created, they're now called the ABC Mind Body System.
Okay.
Now pay attention.
I'm paying attention. I've got my
Okay,
pencil. I'm
good. All right,
ready.
there we go. So the A of these ABCs is alignment,
Mhm.
because in order for you to look your best and
Mhm.
in order for your body to function at its best, you really need to do your best to get your optimum postural alignment. So that becomes my A. And one of the things I'll do in the book, in fact, with everything, every subject in the book, is I take it from the point of view of, all right, what is it? Well, alignment is your posture, how you hold yourself. And then I go into, why is it important? Well, why is posture important? First of all, for those of us who have some degree of vanity, well, I think you look better, right? When your
Right?
posture is better, your body functions better, even from the point of view of being able to raise your arm, turn your head, and of course make space for the organs in your chest and in your abdominal area. But now the trick is, how do you achieve it? And for the alignment portion of the ABCs, well, I don't know if you remember how they used to teach good posture.
I don't.
Oh, you don't know? You don't
No.
remember? Oh my goodness. Well, see, that's because you're younger than me.
But it's making me want to sit up straighter, so I'm moving my microphone closer. Okay.
See, it's working already.
Right? It's so good.
Okay, so they in the old days, Wendy, they used to say chin, or when you're older, chins. I say chins in. And this is what they used to say, and chest
Okay.
out and shoulders back and stomach in, and you got this very rigid
Hmm.
posture, which certainly I don't think it looked great, and I don't know that it enhanced your function any. So throughout the book, I use a lot of mental imagery. So in order to help us get a better postural alignment, I will suggest that you think of the word lengthen and
Sure.
notice what your body does. For the average person, it tends to make those core muscles engage and support your spine.
Right?
But then I say open. And the
Mm.
reason I say open is because you say to people, sit up straight, or you just watch people when they're working or when they're excited and they're stressed. You've got all this tension around
Right?
the neck and shoulders. Well, that tension has nothing to do with good posture. In fact, it could knock your postural alignment off. So after we have said lengthen, we now say open, and we encourage those muscles in the neck and shoulders to relax and let go. And then there are a few other images that we could use, suggesting that we let the chin or the head retract back on the trunk, let the crown of your head rise towards the ceiling. Some people like using a silken thread. Whatever it is, I used to think of having the head filled with helium,
Right?
which gives you that really light and lifted feeling and that openness. So
Yes.
those are just some of the tricks for getting that A of the ABCs, the
I
alignment.
love that because it also, in the process, I noticed every time you said a new word, I inhaled as well. So even the mindfulness of taking those words and implementing them into what my body is doing, it's also reminding me to breathe.
Which happens to be the
Oh,
B, which
look at
happens to
that. I
be,
didn't
you
even
see
read
how
your
that
book
works?
yet. So
Yes,
good.
right? So the B is breathing. So we have alignment, breathing. And so what? What's the big deal about breathing? It happens automatically. You never have to think about it. But in the book, I'm really encouraging everybody to become mindful and
Yes.
to periodically during the day or night do conscious breathing, which means you now take control of your breathing and you use it as a tool. Because with conscious breathing, especially the way I'm going to recommend that you do it, you now have a tool for reducing stress,
Mm, perfect.
right? And the way we do that is, yes, I do encourage you and tell you why I recommend that you learn to breathe in through your nose, that you learn to do a diaphragmatic breath, taking the air all the way down so that your midsection expands. But then where I like you to focus is on what I call slow, prolonged exhalations. So
Mm,
I don't have you count. I don't tell you how many minutes or how many counts to breathe in, how many counts to blow out. Not that there's anything wrong with that. There are all kinds of breathing exercises, alternate nostril, all kinds of things that have different benefits. I like to keep things simple. And the reason that I encourage this slow, prolonged exhalation as you are maintaining your good alignment, you notice I had to just straighten myself up. I was leaning
no,
into
I'm
the
realizing, was I just bent over because all of the adjustments I've just made to my microphone? My goodness.
but it's interesting because you'll notice during the day you'll lose it, but when you start becoming conscious, bingo, you're back up.
Hey,
Now for the breathing and why the emphasis on the slow, prolonged exhalation. It does a couple of things. The main thing it does is help us clear out the stale air that sits in the corner of the lungs. In medical terms, that's referred to as residual air.
okay.
And for the average person, if we get rid of this residual air periodically during the day, now when we breathe in, we've got more room for the oxygenated air,
Sure.
more
Oh,
energy.
right, because the residual air is taking space, but it's already been oxygenated. Okay.
Yeah, it's stale at this point.
Got it.
If it's
Got it.
sitting in the,
Makes sense.
it's stale. Sometimes I talk about the dust bunnies on the floor on the back of our closet. Get rid of
Right?
the dust bunnies, right? Get rid of those dust bunnies. Now you got more room for other things there.
Yes.
Now this whole business, Wendy, of doing these slow, prolonged exhalations with conscious breathing, it's especially valuable for people who have some kind of lung condition like chronic
Mm,
obstructive pulmonary disease, because people with COPD, which it's called, have potentially lost the function of some of their lung tissue, or maybe somebody who's had surgery where they've lost some lung tissue. For these people, having the maximum use of whatever lung tissue is available is really critical.
sure.
Imagine how valuable it is for them to get rid of whatever stale air is sitting in whatever lung tissue they have, so that now when they breathe in diaphragmatically,
Yes.
they're getting a little more oxygen.
Oh, it's brilliant. Can you say a little bit more about the nose breathing? We had a woman, Maria Watson, on the podcast a few months ago, and
Mhm.
she talked about like mouth taping and the importance of breathing through your nose rather than your mouth.
The whole idea is that we want the body to function as efficiently as possible. That's why, we encourage diaphragmatic breathing, because the diaphragm is the one muscle that's really designed to go from its relaxed position to contract down, which is why your midsection expands, and to have you breathe. The nose is the main organ for breathing in, and it's the organ that has the little hairs in it that I'm sure people love. But
Mhm.
those little hairs filter the air. There's almost nowhere we live where there's not something in the air that would benefit from being filtered out.
Sure.
Yeah. And then there's the mucous membrane, which generally can warm and moisten air. It can condition the air depending on where you are, so that when the air passes down into your lungs, it's less jarring, shall we say, and it's purer. And then there's something else, and I have not gone into depth about this, but somewhere I read that breathing in through the nose also stimulates the production of nitric oxide. I've got to make sure I say that right because I think in the book I say nitrous oxide.
Oh,
And a therapist friend of mine said, Vicki, that's laughing gas. Well, I said, that's not bad. That can help you breathe. I mean,
sure.
that's a good thing. But I believe it's nitric oxide, which actually is useful for circulation. So I'm sure there's a lot more that could be said about why to breathe through the nose. And I think there are consequences if you are a mouth breather or you have a child who's a mouth breather because it can impact the eventual structure of the
Oh,
mouth.
wow.
Yeah. So all kinds of reasons. If you or anybody you know, especially children or adults, is a mouth breather, look into it and find out how and why to get retrained for nasal breathing.
Right, because it's just a habit,
Yeah,
correct?
yeah, I would say so. And again, I haven't gone into as much research about it and the causes for mouth breathing,
Sure.
because I'm sure there are many reasons, and that's where it becomes useful to work with a medical professional, eye, ear, nose, and throat person, maybe even a physical therapist, to explore why and then manage it from there.
Sure. Sure.
So that's breathing.
Okay, perfect. I'm
Okay.
with you. I'm with you.
Okay. So we're ready to move on to C. Do you remember what the A is?
Alignment.
Oh, good. All right. And B
I
is
wrote it down.
okay. Oh, well, all right. The B is
B is breathing, but it's conscious
conscious
breathing.
breathing. Beautiful. And the focus is on slow, prolonged exhalations for stress reduction and for increased energy, because when you've gotten rid of stale air, more room for oxygenated air energy. And sometimes the question comes up about doing this throughout the day. No, periodically. In fact, anything that we talk about today, it's one of those things where I'd like you to start becoming mindful of how you're holding your body, how you're doing things. And as you're doing things throughout the day, catch yourself. So I'm not going to be telling you sit up straight 3 times a day, 5 days a week. No, start making it a habit. You're going to forget sometimes. And when you remember, oh, you do that little correction.
Right. James Clear's book, Atomic Habits, he has
Mm,
such a great idea of habit stacking. So you can do, anytime that you're washing your hands after you've been in the restroom, then you can practice your breathing. And anytime you sit down to record a podcast, you can practice your posture and doing that before you take your first bite of food could be a way to habit stack.
mm-hmm. Yeah, that's awesome. And that goes back to transforming the ways you move through life
Right.
because you are integrating all these things that you do every day. You're integrating them with new habits because you're becoming more mindful.
Right. And it's amazing because your body will start to ask for that thing even when your brain forgets. I got into the practice in 2020. I was doing, of course, tons of Zoom calls like everybody else. And I started hydrating my hands and my lips. So I would always put on a chapstick and put some lotion on my hands while I was waiting for the call to open. And now, sometimes in my first podcast interview of the day or the first meeting I'm in, my lips start to just tell me, "Hello, we would like some chapstick. You've assumed the position that is followed by hydration and we haven't gotten it yet." So it's really fascinating how the body works when we are establishing these new habits and how mastery comes from repetition.
That's so great. I think I make that point in the book about how some things may be a little awkward, a little uncomfortable, especially if you are working on the posture thing.
Sure.
because if your body has gotten conditioned and the muscles and joints, have gotten stiffened or kind of stuck in a certain position, if you now are working and pushing your body into new positions, even though they may be better, it's awkward. It may be a little uncomfortable in the beginning. But what you said is usually what happens. So when I learned about the importance of having the arch of the back supported, because in the old days, as therapists, if somebody came in with back pain, we used to have them do this thing called Williams flexion exercises, and we would have them rounding the back. And then a researcher and a gentleman by the name of Robin McKenzie discovers that there's actually less pressure on the spine when the normal curves of the spine are maintained.
Okay.
I was taking a class with Mr. McKenzie, Dr. McKenzie, and I was fidgeting in my chair.
Mm,
We were in a school classroom on one of those, on the wooden chairs with the
sure.
desktop, and I'm fidgeting because I just can't get comfortable. And then he gets to the part of his presentation where he tells us one of the ways to support the small of the back or the arch of the back is just to simply take a bath towel, fold it in half lengthwise, and then roll it, tie it down, and put it behind your back. So I went over to where there happened to be towels in this classroom, and I did exactly what he said. Sat back in the chair, put this support behind my back, and I sat still.
Wow.
Exactly.
I remember my grandmother had a towel with rubber bands around it in her desk chair at work.
Was your grandmother my age? Wait a minute. How old was your
No,
grandmother? Okay.
much older
That
than
was
you. Yeah.
well, okay, because I don't remember what year it was. It was probably the mid to late 70s that I
Right.
learned it.
So she probably learned it from her chiropractor or something.
Or
And
physical therapist.
right, exactly. She was actually, I learned, my grandfather's fifth wife.
Oh.
Three of them were not his fault, is how he tells that story. Um, and so she was in a mid, she was 13 years younger than him.
Uh-huh.
So she was of the age of going to a physical therapist in the 1970s, I'd
Oh,
say.
okay, okay. So what the point I was going to make now is that for I don't remember how much time after, whether it was months, whatever, but whenever I was going someplace, even on dates, I would take my coat, I would take something, and wherever we were sitting at a theater and whatever, I would have something behind my back. Now I can't sit back rounded in a chair. I don't know how it looks to other people, but it's just uncomfortable if I can't be just sitting straight. So I'm usually at the edge of my office chair and I'm up straight
Yep.
because I'm uncomfortable if I'm not. So that goes back to what you were saying, Wendy, and that is that when something is good, the body starts to ask for it. I really liked when you were doing that sitting, when you were doing that breathing. Let's do that again.
Right. Right. Our body knows, and we are just holding space to listen to it and trust it.
That's a great way to put it. So, are you ready for the C of the ABC
I am
system?
ready.
Okay. In the book, I give three different meanings to centering. The
Mm,
first is mind and body working together. The second is learning to move, I say from your center of gravity, but it's really moving your center of gravity over your base of support. And the last
mm.
one is what most of us have learned about how to carry things so that we cause the least amount of injury or strain of our backs, and that is you carry a weight, whether it's a child, whether it's groceries, whether it's 2 bags of groceries. You hold things as close to your center of gravity as possible, and that's generally it's. I'm not going to go into the science of it, but it's generally a spot a little bit below and behind the belly button. It can be a little different depending on your body structure. So those are the three meanings. But the one I like to concentrate on when I'm talking with people is the idea of mind and body working together.
Mm.
And I ask the question, how often has any one of us had a fall, an injury, made a mistake, done something really stupid because our mind is one place while our
Mhm.
body's doing something else?
Yep.
And so there's a strategy in the book that I borrowed. I like to give credit to an organization called Landmark Worldwide. They used to be called Landmark Education, but I borrowed this strategy from them, and it's a way to focus on one item at a time, one to do thing at a time. And by now, people should be aware that multitasking and the ability to do a variety of things all at the same time or keep them all in your head is really not the most efficient way to function.
Right.
So the strategy is, I'm going to say it first: start, act, stop. And all that means is no matter what you're doing, whether it's as simple as washing a dish, start, pick the dish up, wash the dish, put it in the dish drain, which is your act, and
Right.
then in the dish drain, stop, start the next activity. I mean, that's fine. That's a great example with a small task. But when I was writing the book, I mean, that didn't happen with one start, act, stop. So any larger task that you might have, you may only want to or be able to complete a portion of it. So you start
Sure.
whatever you're going to do, right? You do whatever you're going to do, and at some point you declare it stopped or complete, on to the next thing. And so my day is a sequence of start, act, stop, and you can get everything done and in a way that's more efficient and more effective.
That's amazing. So, in implementing that sort of process, and I ask because I live on a farm and I am a single mother and I am an entrepreneur running a business with one team member who lives in another state. And so the start, act, stop, I feel like I am always doing. I'm sorry that I'm talking so slow because I'm trying to like make sure that this is actually true. I feel like I'm doing everything that's important to me at the same time, and maybe efficient over multitasking. So, for example, if I'm walking through this room, I'm going to make sure that the laundry, if it needs to be transferred, that happens as I walk through, and then I'm going down and I see, oh, this needs to be attended to, and then so I guess those are start,
You are
act,
doing
stop, just smaller segments. Okay.
it, exactly.
Good.
That's why I usually do my first example is the washing the dish.
Right. But some of my tasks are bigger than the time allotment.
There's no set time allotment. I mean, I could sit. I mean, when I was writing, or I'm sure when you're creating something, it may your act may be taking place over a significant period of time. Our conversation right now, we started it. However long it goes on is our act, and when we hit that leave button,
Yes.
it's stop and on to the next thing.
Sure. And then also loads and loads and loads of grace in the process for the days that, if I'm harvesting flowers and I bring them in and like, okay, they had to be harvested because of the time of day it is. And I have a podcast interview in 5 minutes and I can't also process all these flowers. So they're just going to be okay. And I'm going to go do what I need to do.
Yeah, and you could probably because what I'm hearing is, I don't know if concern is the word. I'm not sure of the right
There's a lot of
word.
open loops. I get the the process and the counsel to close loops because it's just an energy leak. But I just want to also acknowledge, and like, I love your insight. When you either are or under the impression that you are a one woman show, how can you implement these in an effective way that doesn't add berating your lack of productivity to the list of things to do?
I guess with everything in the book, it's a series of tools.
Yeah.
Uh, it's offering you options, ideas, and then you get to play with them.
Yeah.
And some are going to, I like the analogy of like putting on a piece of clothing. Some are going to fit better. Some are going to
Right.
make you look and feel and function better. Others not so much. So you don't you don't stress.
Right. Just the awareness.
Yeah, exactly. Be aware it exists, and sometimes it'll be appropriate, it'll be fun. I have started mentioning regarding this start, act, stop thing that I have a pet peeve, and that is having a conversation with a friend. If I have a chance to speak to any of your viewers or listeners or even my own friends or family, when we're on a phone conversation, I'm not doing anything else. It's very rare that I'll do anything else. My time is with that person. And my peeve is when somebody calls me or I call them. First thing I'll do, first of all, is ask if they have time to speak to me if I've initiated the call, or we've set up a time with text. But if they've called me and yet they are preparing dinner in the background, if you do have conversations with your friends, I'm not speaking to you specifically, Wendy, but
Yeah.
to people who may be listening, please give them the respect. And if your time is limited and you really can't stay on the phone with them, let's say, I got to go now. Let's talk at another time. My poor mom, may she rest in peace, she had a very dear friend, but the dear friend had no concept of time when she would call my mom. So I finally taught my mom, even if she had to stretch the truth or lie, oh, somebody has come in to see me. Oh, I'm scheduled for something, whatever it is, so that she could manage her time well. I went off on a
Right.
bit of a binge. Thank
Setting
you.
boundaries is tricky.
Yeah, but being open about it, being honest about, I need to do something now, or I need to get off the phone
Right. I
now. I
mean, we
need.
can have a courageous conversation, and yes, it's uncomfortable and it's awkward until it's elegant. But the more times you practice saying something like, I've loved this conversation and I need to go do the next thing, I think that there are countless practices, and we can either argue for our limitations, or we can take that awareness and say, no, I'm okay with the way it is. It doesn't fit into the ABCs, whatever. I'm just making that up. Or, hmm, I am aware, and I was pretty committed to the story of how I can't do it a different way. And that actually doesn't sound like me. So I'm going to be available to implement some new practices to be the version of myself that I believe I'm headed toward. And if that is getting off the phone and using my words and helping this woman have some awareness around how she is a time monopolizer, then
So you actually opened up the conversation about the second ABC system.
oh, see how good
I know, what a
I should
wonderful
host a
sequence.
podcast.
Yay! So after I had established these ABCs, which were really focused more on physical function, alignment, breathing, centering, I got to the point of saying, okay, what would be a good set of ABCs for how we function mentally?
Yes.
And those became attitudes, beliefs, and commitment.
Ooh.
The whole idea is inviting people to take the time, again, time to introspect and look at attitudes they may have about themselves, about others, about their situation in life, and take a look at which attitudes are really positive and empowering and supportive. Like I can do anything. I'm going to try that, whatever. Or some of the attitudes can be negative, like I don't feel like it, or my somebody in my family, yeah, you can't teach an old dog new tricks. By the way, there's a video that hopefully the link is working. There's a video link given in the book actually showing an old dog being taught a new trick. So
That's
that
amazing.
expression caused me to go and look that up. So those are attitudes, and let's start looking at attitudes you may have, positive, negative. How are they impacting how you lead your life, how you interact with others, with circumstances in your life, etc. Then we go to the B, and the B is beliefs. Those don't change so easily. All right, we're all born into a certain culture, a religion. Our families have certain ways, the people who brought us up. So these things are almost cellular, on a cellular level. So you can't just say, "Oh, I've got this belief that older women shouldn't be doing certain things,"
Mm.
and maybe that's what my father said. Maybe my own mother, was conditioned to being a housewife, and that's all she should be. Blah blah blah. So here's an opportunity to again take a look at beliefs. Which beliefs do I have about myself, about others, again, about circumstances? Which ones are empowering and positive and free me up to be more self expressed, more able to realize my dreams, my goals in life? Which ones are limiting? I mean, you
Mm.
take a look at me as an 80-year-old woman. I am supposed to, I don't know what I'm supposed to be doing. I don't have kids, so it's not like I'm supposed to be being with my grandchildren. I am being fully expressed.
Mm-hmm.
So there's attitudes, beliefs, and then of course you get to the C again. And the C this time is commitment. Great. So I've taken the time to take a look at attitudes, make a determination which ones I might want to develop more of a positive attitude, more of an attitude of gratitude. I know that's a big one.
Yep.
Which beliefs are potentially those that I may want to choose to change, new habits perhaps. And now what's my commitment? What steps am I going to take to do it?
Mm.
I call those the ABCs of personal growth and transformation.
Mm. It's so good.
And you
Yes.
put together these two ABC systems, and now you have what I call a movement and mindset guide, no matter what your age is.
Oh, it's so good. Vicki, you've made it so easy for us.
Yeah, that was the whole idea.
Perfect. Oh, I have loved this conversation.
Me too,
Thank you
Wendy.
so much. Please tell everyone where they can find and follow you, how they can get their hands on the book, all the good things.
I keep things really simple, and I just suggest that people go to my website, which is Thera. Think of the word therapy, Thera, but then don't forget the hyphen and then the word fitness. So thera-fitness.com, and there you can learn more about me. But there's also a page called the book, and there you're going to hear if you want to, you're going to hear an 8-minute audio intro to the book, and you'll have the option of purchasing the book either from Amazon or from Barnes and Noble. And then I'm going to request and suggest that you do use the contact me on the website, which will be Vicki at therafitness.com, and you will get a 2-page sheet that I call 9 Body Tips and Tricks for Relieving Stress.
Ooh, fantastic.
It's really good. And I welcome hearing from people in general.
Yeah, perfect. Well, we will link everything down in the show notes and send people directly to get that guide. It sounds perfect and appropriate, especially for this time of year. There can be some added stress. So thank you
Yes.
so much. I've loved having you, Vicki, and you are doing 80 like a queen.
Wendy, thank you so much. I really enjoyed it. And I wish I could see your farm one day. That sounds fabulous.
Come on over. I hope you enjoyed that conversation as much as I did. As always, any links or notes mentioned can be found at phineaswrighthouse.com in the podcast section of our site or in the show notes below. And if you haven't connected with me personally, come find me on Instagram at Phineas Wrighthouse and let me know you listened to this episode. I'd love to get to know you. Thank you for sharing this time with me. I know your days are full, and I'm really grateful that you chose to spend some of your precious time right here. Be sure to subscribe to the podcast so you don't miss any of these delightful conversations. I'll see you next week.